What's up, guys? This week I built this. It's not done, but we're now one step closer to completing the office remodel. So if you want to see how I did this, watch the video, and don't forget to subscribe down below because we have, I think, 1 or 2 more videos left in this office remodel series. And then, yeah, so watch the video, subscribe down below, and I'll be waiting here for when you finish. Alright, so to start this project, the first thing I did was I ripped down a thin strip of pine. Now, you guys are probably very familiar with this piece of pine. This is the same piece I keep using literally for everything, and it's like the never-ending strip of pine that I have laying around. So I cut another 1.5 inches off of it, and then I took it to the chop saw and I cut it down to the right length, and this is just the distance between the Murphy bed and the wall to completely fill that gap. I made sure it was perfectly level, and then I drilled some screws just straight into some studs. This will give me both a reference point to build my cabinets up to, and then it will give me a place to mount my cabinets to as well. This will act as my first kind of line of defense, so that way this thing's not getting moved or pulled out or anything like that. These are going to be completely built in. So back into the shop, and we are cutting down some strips of plywood to fit. We will need 3 total, and then we will need to cut out the notches that will go around that beam that we made, if that makes any sense. You'll see how I mounted it later. I also went ahead and I cut out a piece for the baseboard. Now, originally I was going to just tear the baseboard out. However, I am here at home and I am working around little ones, so this was just about nap time. Figured it was easier to cut this in the garage rather than go inside and tear baseboard out in the adjacent room to where my children take a nap. With the notches cut out on the side, it was just about time to take these inside. However, I wanted to add a little bit of space between these sheets of plywood and the adjacent walls. Now, this is because I know that the walls inside of the house are not going to be perfectly square. However, I don't really remember why I did it on 2 of these pieces instead of just 1. I think I just completely forgot that that one side was going to be the Murphy bed, and I already verified that that was perfectly level, straight up and down. But, you know, sometimes you just do stuff without thinking, and you got to fix those problems in the end. And that's all right. So to create this desired spacing, I just took these couple sheets of particle board and I glued and then pin nailed them into place. And then with those secured on far too many sides, I took them inside and I mounted them to that beam with just some pocket hole screws. Now, I did forget to record the part where I mounted this side to that wall it's butting up against, and I did that by driving those 3-inch screws just straight through into studs, making sure I went through the spacer so that way it was biting through wood the entire time. Then I added my spacer blocks and it was back into the shop to create some nice little drawers. Now for my drawers, I cut them to the right width and length, and I just cut all of my drawers at the same time. That way when I start this process, which is me starting my dado slot, I can just do everything at the same time. So I will typically start my bottom dado slot, and then I'll work my way all the way through every single one of my boards, and then I will go back and I will do my top dado slot. This will give me the top cut and the bottom cut, and then from there I shouldn't be able to mess everything up. I will do my custom fit on a scrap piece so that way I make sure everything's perfect, and then I will go and I will cut my top. Now, cutting my dados this way is how I found is the most effective way for me to not mess up all of my dado slots. So I'll cut my very bottom groove first, and I'll cut it all the way on all of them, just the exact same. And then I will do my top groove with a custom fit to make sure everything's nice and snug. And then I will do that on every single thing, and then I'll go back and I'll clean out all of the middle. Now you can clean out the middle with just more cuts like this on the table saw, just back and forth. You can chip them out with a chisel if you are feeling like having a ton of fun and making a mess. But once everything's done, I sanded it away to make sure everything was smooth. This took me probably about 24 hours. Not literally, it just took me an entire day. It didn't take me a full 24 hours. That would be crazy. But I'll fast forward that part, and then I will start gluing everything together. Now, I didn't do any kind of fancy joinery. If I had more time, I would have loved to cut some dovetails and have dovetail joinery on these shelves, since I took the extra time to mill a bit of lumber and to get it solid wood instead of a plywood. I would have loved that, but I didn't have the time. So glue and some 23 gauge nails, so that way you don't even know that they're there. And then I did use a scrap piece of plywood you see there as kind of a spacer, and just started tacking these things in place. I did that on one corner, and then the other, and then the other, until I had a box. And then once I had a box, well, I just did that until I had about 6 boxes total. With all of my drawer boxes built, it was time to mount some hardware. So I went ahead and I mounted my drawer slides first. I did this before I added my bottom to the drawers, and I did this because I had an idea and I had to do a little bit of thinking. So instead of stopping and coming back to it, I figured I might as well start making sure all of this stuff fits where it's supposed to go. So I mounted all of the hardware for my drawers first, and I put them into place, and they fit beautifully, as they should. But with that done, I had one unusable drawer fully installed. Now I just had to do that 5 more times. Yes, because it's a total of 6 drawers. Next, I needed to fix this little area that I messed up. So a little bit of oversight on my end. However, nothing, some glue, clamps, and a sheet of leftover maple won't fix. So I just kind of put that into its place, left it with these clamps, and a couple hours later, I took the clamps off and put the face frame on, and you'd never even know it was there. Next, it was actually time for the face frame. So I just got some strips of poplar, and I got them held together with a few drops of wood glue and some pocket hole screws. Poplar is a very paintable wood. It has a nice clean finish because the grain is not very deep. It's nice and tight. And so I went with poplar because it'll give me a nice finish when everything is all said and done. And I did have to cut away this small piece of baseboard because I really didn't feel like trying to scribe that line on my face frame. So at this point, it was a couple days later and all the kids were awake and running amok, so it didn't feel like much work to drag this little oscillating tool inside and make a little bit of ruckus. But I just cut this guy out, and then I pried it out with that little bar, which was kind of, I don't know, a strange angle, I guess. But it worked. I got it out, and then my face frame fit in there perfect. Now, I really loved this part. I dragged my face frame in. I fed my nail gun with the freaking pneumatic hose through the window, and I started pinning this face frame in place, and it really made it start looking like a finished product almost right away. I can't wait to get the face frames on there. However, I needed to finish the drawers all the way first. So pin this thing in place, and then we'll start in on the drawers because I have one final idea. And here we have it. I saved the best part for last. At least what I feel like is the best part. Aside from the face frame and making it look like a finished product, I am ripping down some sheets for the insides of the drawers. Now we're not just gonna do any kind of regular old insides, because I think having, I forget what kind of wood I made the drawers out of. That next to maple though would kind of be a strange contrast. I ripped down my sheets. I broke down the edges so they were nice and smooth. No sharp corners here because I didn't want them tearing this beautiful paper that my wife chose. So this is just a wallpaper that we had found online. We ordered this and it was peel and stick back. Made sure I didn't get any bubbles left in it. And I didn't want to overthink this too much. Now it wasn't wide enough to have one sheet cover the entire thing. I knew I was going to have a seam somewhere. So I just slapped on a piece and then I cut off the excess on the edges, and then I went aside and I found the center spot. I found the center line, and then I took a straight edge. I ran my blade all the way down the very center, so that way my seam was straight down the middle, and I peeled that piece away. Honestly, this wallpaper is busy enough to where you can't even really notice the seam. Plus, take it or leave it, there's going to be a bunch of stuff in the drawer. I don't really know if you're going to see them at all, but it's cool to know it's there. It gave me a little bit of, I don't know, just a little bit of something fancy to do, and it actually ended up coming out pretty nice. I actually really liked it. In the future, I will probably be doing this to most of my drawers. Well, what'd you think? I think that the drawers are awesome. Typically, I build my drawers out of plywood, and this time I went with actually solid wood all the way around. I'm a big fan of the inlays on the inside, and I love soft close. So next week, we're going to work on this. You can see this little reference line. That's because there's going to be cabinetry going all the way up, and then we'll figure out something to go above the Murphy bed to the ceiling. So just generally more storage, I guess. But if you liked that, subscribe down below. I don't have any plans to this because this is relative to my size wall. There's my mallet. I was looking for it. So that's it. There's really not much left to say other than go build something awesome. Have a great day in the shop. If you remember, I built the storage in the garage. Click the link down below. Those plans are free right now, and they're probably going to stay that way. So get those plans, go build some storage in your garage, and I'll see you guys next week when we finish this. Hopefully all the building will be done. Bye.